Welcome to the 49-Yard Dash Podcast, a podcast on your San Francisco 49ers, hosted by myself, Stephen Ellis, and joined now and weekly by my good friend Josh. He's back, of course, and you can also find his stuff at gbmwolverine.com, where he covers the Michigan Wolverines, although he probably doesn't want to talk about that after last weekend. Suffered their first loss of the season. Oh, he's gone. That's too bad.
Oh, sorry. Technical difficulties. We're back.
What
was that?
But, Josh, we got to celebrate a 49ers victory at least. So, overall, probably mixed feelings, but overall, how you doing, my man?
Well, the FED is investigating me for the January SIX RIOTS in WASHINGTON DC. And I just want to jump out in front of this whole deal. I'm pleading not guilty for the whole thing. Whatever you seen on Facebook, whatever you saw on Twitter, Instagram, I was not there. I plead the fifth. Yeah, you got to go back and spell it out.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to listen to that after we record because
I
tried to keep up, but okay, all right.
I'll repeat it real slow. The FED, FED. This is for all you listeners, our four independent listeners. The FED is investigating me for the January SIX RIOTS in WASHINGTONDC, and I am pleading not guilty because I definitely was not there.
I'm not going to read it. Any listeners will have to do the same thing that I just did. All I know is that Josh didn't do it.
Yeah, we're not monetized, but if we tried to become monetized, we would immediately get pulled. So don't read it out loud. That's why I spelled it.
Will do. All right, man. It feels like it's been a long time. You know, it's interesting. The first 2 weeks of the season, we got to review wins, and we went 5 weeks, including the bye week, without getting to review a win. And of course, we're not going to win the bye week to review a win, man. I mean,
no,
Luke only covers losses.
He does losses in Mac Jones, and frankly, we lost the bye week too because Trey Lance didn't get starters reps during the bye week, so that's a loss as well.
That's true. So a pretty good game. It was interesting, especially in the first half. I was worried. I really thought that they were about to drop one to Chicago, and they were able to pull it out, man. But it was scary at first. But overall, I thought Jimmy Garoppolo actually had a good game, even though in the first half, I remember I texted you and I said, this seems like one of those classic plays just well enough to keep his job games. But it actually ended up, I personally thought this was probably his best game of the year. What did you think?
Yeah, it's not even close. I mean, stats-wise, I don't have the Lions game in front of me, but it's pretty similar stats. So we saw in the Lions game touchdown, the Lions game. But this was actually these yards were executed. We talked about it the first week when we were adamantly on the Trey train and still are. How many of those yards, one of his best statistical games of his career, were earned because of Debo and guys just running open against a horrible secondary. He didn't have to do a lot of it, didn't lead a lot of guys in stride. This week, he actually commanded the offense really well. He threw guys open, which is something that Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't do a lot. He delivers the ball where Kyle asks him. He doesn't lead guys into their route oftentimes. And I thought he did a decent job of that this week. He did take a couple shots, and it seemed like a guy, and I don't want to compare him to Aaron Rodgers, but the fact that I just stated that sentence would indicate that I'm about to. In a similar way that Aaron Rodgers had a fire lit under his behind in this past offseason, by drafting Jordan Love, past couple off seasons, and then the issues inside of the team. He steps up, and that's kind of what I was hoping to see out of Jimmy Garoppolo this year. Is once it was pretty obvious he was going to start, was whatever chip on the shoulder he's got because of Trey coming in, maybe we'll see him finally take a step and then maybe be able to trade him. It didn't happen so far, despite that Lions game. throughout the first several weeks of the year. But this game, it actually seemed like what I thought we'd see out of Jimmy Garoppolo. It was efficient play. He took the shots. He didn't force a lot. He led guys open. He delivered the ball accurately, and I thought he did a pretty good job commanding the offense.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned that because I remember, I believe it was in our introductory episode. That's exactly what I said. Actually, is it wouldn't shock me to see Jimmy Garoppolo maybe have his best year just because of I said that
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers type deal. I didn't
There
say
you
he was
go.
going to be Aaron Rodgers, but that same thing.
Pretty sure you did.
And hey, I said, what did I say? I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure I said a poor man's
I
Aaron
remember.
Rodgers season.
I remember specifically. You said he was going to
Uh-huh.
be in the Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Mac Jones level of quarterback.
Mac Jones. Good God.
Apologies to our
Hi,
friends.
Luke.
You know who you are. Lukey from You Know Who You Are.
Yep, that's right.
The tears of greatness don't compute. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, you said it in the podcast. In that introductory, I was very adamant that you need to start Trey and run a run heavy offense, not with Trey, but just a vanilla offense in the passing game, go run heavy and go with Trey. And then you said the same thing as if you are going with Jimmy, is the same thing as you just said, is if you're going with Jimmy, hopefully he's got a fire lit under him, similar to Aaron Rodgers.
That's it.
Finally showed up. A little too late for the playoffs, maybe, but showed up.
Yeah, we'll see about that, man. It's they have some work to do. That's for sure, and to get back into it. Because I mean, we celebrate a win, but they're 3-4. Fortunately, next week they got Arizona, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But who won't have Kyler Murray next year, so it should be another winnable game. But we'll see how it goes, and it's in San Francisco. But as far as this game, no, I thought Jimmy Garoppolo played a really clean game. And going into the year, my thought process was, I thought a really nice scenario. I wanted the season to go one of two ways. One, Jimmy Garoppolo starts the whole year, has his pretty much best season, fire lit under him, his best season, and he increases his trade value and they get a good deal. Or I wanted him, or I wanted him to flat out bust and get traded in earlier. But I didn't want this unsure, sometimes Trey, sometimes Jimmy junk. We don't know what's going on. And that's what it's been for the most part.
It's exactly what it's been. And it's the worst case scenario. I'm not trying to jump you. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I totally agree. It's cool. And I totally agree. This is what I did not want. It's this weird, we don't know what's going on, not really committing to either one. It doesn't seem like, but maybe this game, and I'd rather see Trey Lance still, but, I'm not going to complain if this is what sparks Jimmy Garoppolo's good season and they come back and make the playoffs. And that's okay result for me. And then next year it's all Trey, of course. But man, I just wish it didn't happen in week 8, man.
I know. Well, and you and I talked about it before, that what's playing out is literally the scenario that I described, was that Jimmy was going to play just good enough to keep Trey off the field and probably play a little bit better. And then here you are going into the off season with still a year left on his contract. And it's like, well, do you want to be the guy that gets rid of this locker room guy or whatever that's playing good? And the team has a championship mindset. Maybe Trey Lance still looks inconsistent in practice. And then you trade him or cut him or whatever, just to give Trey the keys next year. And then you lose part of the team because of the dynamics involved in it. Because don't get me wrong, there is a faction. I don't know that for a fact, but no doubt there's a faction that will ride or die with Jimmy inside of that locker room. And when you take away their guy, especially after he plays good, it's going to cause an issue. So this is the worst case scenario. It does seem like for Trey to get the job this year, it's going to have to be due to an extended Jimmy injury, which is what it looked like it was going to be a couple weeks ago. It's just kind of no man's land. I would love to say that Jimmy's going to keep playing like this, and we'll talk about it more. I know we'll look through the rest of the schedule with the Cardinals coming up. I would love to say Jimmy's going to keep playing like this. I just have not seen that be the case. People point back to the Super Bowl year. Is Jimmy having a good year? The 49ers went to the Super Bowl and they won the Super Bowl in spite of Jimmy Garoppolo, not because of Jimmy Garoppolo. It was because of the run game, because of the defense, and it was in spite of him and his flaws. So there's not been a track record of him having sustained success.
Mhm.
Outside of 4 games as a rookie, is 4 games in San Francisco before his injury. So hopefully he'll put it together and maybe lead them to playoffs. But
Yeah,
I, there's no evidence that has shown that he can do that consistently throughout a year.
yeah, I agree with you. I do. And looking at the game specifically too, like I said at the outset, the beginning of the game really made me think because first drive they got in the field goal range, missed the field goal. Second drive, field goal, made it. Third drive, field goal, they made it. Fourth drive, field goal, they made it. So it seemed like that classic,
Mhm.
just okay, just good enough to get by offense, you know.
Yep.
And at halftime it was 9-13, and I wasn't sure. And then the opening drive to start the second half, the Bears actually get another field goal, so it's a touchdown game. But second half is when they shined. The offense shined, and it really started with. Let's see, was this the drive that? Okay, yeah. It started. It was 3rd and 19 on their own 16. So it looked like
Yep.
this isn't going anywhere. They got a touchdown lead. Now we're gonna have to punt. They're probably gonna have good field position. Like this could get out of hand quick.
Yep.
And a little screen pass to Debo that he catches at the 12, 83 yards down at the 1. And that play was all Debo. It really was. Not trying to take away from Jimmy,
100%.
but I mean, that was Debo. I mean, that dude made something out of
Yep.
nothing and nearly took it to the house. And this was the turning point of the game, without a doubt. If this doesn't happen, Chicago gets the ball back up by 7 and with good field position.
Starting from their side of the 50 with a rookie quarterback that's building some confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was the turning point of the game, and of course that got them down to the 1 yard line. And even then, to be honest, I was
Yeah.
thinking, oh God, they're gonna blow it because they got it the one first play. It was a false start.
Yeah. It took them till 3rd and goal
Exactly. They had to get
to
to
get it
3rd and goal, and Garoppolo ran it in. It looked like a trail. Well, it was a blown play because it was supposed to be a little Debo sweep handoff thing, maybe even a shovel pass. Shovel pass. I couldn't think of. Yeah, but I guess the
Yeah.
timing of the snap got messed up with Alex Mack.
Yeah. I was listening to Better Rivals earlier. I
Yeah.
generally do that spoiler in preparation of our podcast, and they're a great podcast too. Shout out to them. Been
Mhm.
listening to them for years, but they even mentioned it was arguably a timing issue
Yeah.
with Alex Mack, and it could have been a direct snap to Debo the way the play was drawn up, but
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
of the formation and the way Jimmy was lined up and Alex Mack snapping like that, it's kind of why Jimmy looked kind of startled almost when he got the ball. Was their assumption it could have been a direct snap to Debo, and Alex Mack just snapped at the wrong time, and he's had
Yeah.
plenty of issues this year. We've covered those, but
But credit to
blowing
Jimmy
up
for
play that Jim.
being
Credit to
prepared
Jimmy.
and taking it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he
I
made
I
something out of it.
I thought he would turtle. I thought he'd turtle and end up at the 40.
Yeah, for real. Mhm. Man, and so at that point, they missed the extra point. Sly did. So it's 15-16, Bears lead.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. At that point, the defense forces a 3-and-out. No, it wasn't a 3-and-out, but a pretty quick drive. My mistake. 49ers get the ball back at their 48, and a 15-yard gain to Debo, an 11-yard to Juszczyk, Elijah Mitchell with a couple runs, and including a 5-yard touchdown. And
Yep.
man, Elijah Mitchell, man, that guy is for
Killer.
real.
I hate to talk big picture stuff reviewing the game, but man, Mitchell fits what Shanahan wants to run and Trey Sermon doesn't.
Exactly.
And we've talked about it ad nauseum, and eventually we'll do an episode where we discuss our feelings on the 49ers thinking, this offseason or heading into draft and free agency talk, the way they approach guys. And this is an issue right here to kind of prelude the potential episode. Trey Sermon is not a Shanahan guy. He could
No.
be a Lynch guy. He could be somebody else's guy, but he's sure as heck not a Shanahan guy. Elijah Mitchell is a Shanahan guy, based on his character, based on his work ethic, and based on the fact that the dude's a gamer. He's not gonna make a lot of guys miss with a bunch of jump cuts and spin moves like Sermon might, but he's gonna run over guys and he's gonna see the hole and hit it. And that's what you need in a Shanahan offense. And dude, his stat line, what was it? Pulling it
Dude,
up
he hit
here
like
right now.
130,
He had
137.
18 carries for 137 yards and touchdown, long run of 39 yards.
That's
Yet
7.6 a
again,
carry.
yep, 7.6 a carry. That is nuts, especially against, Bears defense has regressed, a little bit over the last couple of years, but still top half of the league defense. They're not trash. It's great. And it does kind of make you frustrated as a 49ers fan who follows the draft as closely as we do. Elijah Mitchell, 18 carries. Jimmy Garoppolo, 5 carries. A couple of those were botched. JaMychal Hasty, 3, and no Trey Sermon. Really makes you wonder, especially with the holes they got right now, the capital they invested in Sermon when the Mitchell's on the field. But either way, if this is the production you're getting out of Sermon, he's worth the value that Trey Sermon was drafted at. If this is what you're getting out of Mitchell, rather, that he is clearly worth the value that Sermon was drafted at.
Yeah, definitely.
So I can live with that. If you just swap their draft positions and this is what you're getting with,
That's true.
I can live with that.
Yeah. Based on what he's done, if they would have selected Elijah Mitchell in the 3rd round, it wouldn't be too bad. I see what you mean.
And that's the point I'm trying to make. If you just flip where they were picked at, you've got a 6th round guy in Trey Sermon who is a rotational running back, and then you've got a starting running back that you got in the 3rd round. You just need to flip the draft positions, and that's one way to look at it and sleep at night. But
for real.
Mitchell, man, steal the draft.
Yeah, really. Yeah, it's true. Another example of them being able to draft late but not early, but we won't get into that right now.
I know. We'll say that for later.
That's a whole
folks.
podcast on its own.
That's going to be a 3-part special. That's going to be at
real.
least an hour and a half each.
Definitely. After that, they go for 2 because after they score the touchdown, they're only up by 5. Obviously, you want to get up by 7. They go for 2. Ayuk is the one to catch it. And man, I know the stat line, 7 targets, 4 catches for 45 yards and a 2-point conversion. I know the stat line doesn't jump off the page, but Ayuk seemed like Ayuk. And that was really good to see.
He did.
I mean, he was a part of the game plan. He's obviously not the number 1. Debo is, but he was a part of the game plan. I think his blocking was nice. His route running was crisp. He played a good game, and even Shanahan really praised him afterwards. And that's just really nice to see for a guy who's had, oh man, just a roller coaster of a second season,
It is. And you think about Ayuk again from a big picture standpoint. When he went off last year, he was mainly playing in the slot, and that's probably where his long-term role projects to. Starting out this year, he was asked to play a lot outside opposite Debo. He got a lot more attention after the year he had last year. His route running wasn't near as crisp, mentally wasn't there as much. And kind of this role he's in now, of course, still lining up outside occasionally, but getting him some more looks inside, getting him into positions where he's comfortable with. Really seems like he's going to shine. I think for his long-term, future, Debo is your number 1. Ayuk is your number 2. Kind of moving all over the place, mainly playing out of the inside on inside leverage off of Debo, and then having some kind of big body red zone threat, a la Kendrick Bourne. That's the trio you're looking for. You don't quite have it this year, but it does seem like Ayuk, between his work ethic, the way the coaches are getting him in better fits the last couple of games. Does seem like he's looking a little bit more comfortable out there. And even last week against the Colts in the rain, he did look pretty decent. Just as far as his route running and everything, he was much more involved in the game. So I think we're going to see a better projection from him. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. After that, of course, the Bears get the ball back and they get it down to the San Francisco 22. It's a 4th and 1. They go for it. And man, I mean, there's nothing else you can say that Justin Fields made a few guys miss, and he just made it. I mean, he's an athlete. He made an athletic play. I mean, there's nothing else to say about it. It was spin move and a little juke and then takes off. I mean, we knew he was really athletic. Yeah.
Ironically enough, that single play right there I think is a lot of the reason why the 49ers didn't draft Justin Fields. Not because he's electric. They're not idiots. But he's going to do things in a certain way that Kyle Shanahan can't get into his box. And not that Trey Lance is going to be boxed into any kind of role, but Trey Lance and his skill set does fit better to what Kyle Shanahan wanted to do.
Yeah.
Arguably, even Mac Jones with his passing would fit better into the skill set. Justin Fields, he's got a cannon and he's athletic and he knows how to use it. And you cannot keep a guy like that in a box. It's a disservice to him and it's a disservice to the team. And that play right there, where it's just turning nothing into something. That's the reason the Bears got a shot to maybe make a run at a wild card and at least not be a dumpster fire for the next few years.
Yeah, for real. It's true. Yeah, when Matt Nagy was calling plays, it seemed like he was trying to call plays for Andy Dalton, but was putting Justin Fields out there. And I think that
Yeah.
was part of why I still think he definitely has some stuff to work on for sure. He still holds the ball too long, too often.
Yeah, he's an athlete.
But Nagy wasn't coaching him like he's an athlete.
No, and that's I guess the broader point I was trying to make. If you drafted Justin Fields and you try to play him this year, what you saw Matt Nagy do is the exact same thing he would look like in San Francisco. It's the exact same thing, and you cannot tell me otherwise. Matt Nagy's the worst coach and the worst play caller, but the fundamentals and the way that they're wanting to call their offense is similar in the fact that they are the dictator of the offense and they do not want people freelancing. It's going to be done in a certain way and executed in a certain fashion. It's the reason we didn't see Ayuk on the field much this year. It was not done in a certain way, in a certain fashion. Trey Lance is the guy to do that. Justin Fields is the guy who's going to wing it. And he might be a very good quarterback. Don't know how long he's going to last, running 10 carries a game, running the ball 10 times a game, getting hit all the time. But that's kind of what you need in a place like Chicago, where you've got a good defense. You can kind of rebuild that maybe this offseason and lean on a quarterback who can just be an athlete and turn something into nothing, nothing into something, kind of like what Colin Kaepernick did. Just kind of run all over the place and make something happen. Not always the prettiest, but gets it done.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. The nice thing about, the good thing about this was the Bears missed the extra points after they scored on this one. And that was big. That was big. If it's 23-23, that's it. I mean, that's a different ball game. Obviously, a tie game is, because right after that, the 49ers they march right down the field, get to the 5-yard line, and Garoppolo with another rushing touchdown. I mean, that changed the outlook of the game, missing that extra point. Even from the standpoint you look at from the 49ers side, there's more pressure on Jimmy Garoppolo if it's a tie ball game than up by one even. So, I mean, that really did. Yeah. That missed extra point was huge. And the 49ers took advantage of it.
Sure did. And you got to think, too, a team like the Bears, it doesn't help their confidence at all when the wind is taken out of the sails like that. You feel like you're finally got them on the ropes. You're finally doing something positive, and then a missed extra point, albeit not a double doink, but a missed extra point. It's something that they couldn't have had. And it really felt like it took the wind out of their sails at that point.
Oh, I thought the same thing. Let's see. After that, the 49ers, of course, score. It's 30-22. The Bears get the ball back, and on a 3rd and 10, Samson Ebukam got the sack. And he's somebody that all year I have been saying, where the heck is this guy? They brought him in saying he was a speed rusher and that he would be great against mobile quarterbacks. Where is he? But because Dee Ford was out, they move Eric Armstead to the inside, bring Samson Ebukam to that edge, opposite of Nick Bosa. And I gotta admit, I think they have more talent on the edge. I like the idea of keeping Eric Armstead. I doubt they'll do it, but I like Eric Armstead on the inside and putting more talent on that other edge opposite of Nick Bosa.
Yeah, I'm with you. And going back to the original Defoe trade in the 2020 or 2019-2020 offseason following the Super Bowl loss, it really felt like the 49ers wanted Eric Armstead to replace DeForest Buckner on the inside. It feels like it was one or the other. We feel like they're not that far apart from a talent perspective, so we'll go with the cheaper option.
Yeah.
Hasn't worked out that way, but I do think
No.
long term, Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch's plan would be for Eric Armstead to keep developing inside because it frees so much up. Like you said,
Yeah.
you don't have to rely on him on the outside and then play with Jones and Kinlaw, and whenever they're going to be healthy or not, and they constantly rotate in tackles, you can put your best. It's it's an analogy I've heard watching Big Ten football my entire life. All these offensive line gritty schools, they don't talk about putting their best offensive line on the field or their best defensive line on the field per position. They say, let's get our best 5 guys on the field, regardless of position. We want our best 5 on the field. And we'll make it work later, whatever position they play. But we want the best 5 guys on the field. We don't want the best left end and then the worst defensive lineman is our starting defensive tackle, but the backup left end anchor is better than him. We want our best guys on the field, and we're going to do what we have to get them on the field. And I really feel like what you said, sliding Armstead inside, it frees up so much where you can get your best defensive line on the field, whether you're in 3 guys on the line, 4, 5, just however, 2, whatever formation you're going to run. Let's get our best guys on the field,
Yes.
and to heck
Yes.
with anything else.
I totally agree. And they just have more talent at the edge position. So get as much talent on the field as you can, I think. And it was nice to see Ibukam have an impact, man.
No, it was. He's a guy you and I are really high on in the offseason. You talked about him more than I did. You brought him to my attention as a pickup. But no, that's the kind of guy you need. Some guy who can eat. And you've seen this so many times throughout the years and all levels of football, especially NFL and college, where you have a legitimate star on one end, and you have that in Nick Bosa.
Yes.
And the other side is completely unoccupied because on one side of the line, you got the center watching Bosa, you got the right guard and tackle all paying attention to him. He's getting chipped with the tight end. The left side of the line, you just got one guy to beat him off the edge and get home. That's what happened, and that's why you've got to have your best defensive line on the field, regardless of position.
And I thought too, if Armstead is in the inside, D Ford at this point in his career is still a speed guy, but health is an issue. He's upper in age. He's getting up in age, I should say. Even if him and Ibukam are just rotating at that opposite edge spot, it's perfect because they're both speed guys, and that's what's best to have at the opposite side of Nick Bosa. So I think they might, and I hope they stick with it. I don't know if they will, but I hope they stick with it because I think they might have found something here.
I think the only time you're going to see them go away from it in a true base formation, and what we mean by that is what's their bread and butter, is what they're lining up. And I think the time you're going to see them go away from that line is going to be when they play a serious downhill running game. When you look at the remaining of their schedule, there's not a ton left on there that's got serious running game, especially with the Titans losing Henry out for the rest of the season, but potentially with the Bengals going up against Joe Mixon, he's one of the better running backs in the NFL. Vikings, Dalvin Cook. Those are 2 of the games, and even the Seahawks here later in the year. Those are maybe 2 or 3 games you're going to see him move away from that lineup, put Armstead back on the edge, maybe focus more on the run. But
to get more size,
the Cardinals, the Rams, the Jags, the Falcons, the Titans without Derrick Henry, the Texans, and the Rams again. These are teams where you can line up in this formation and really put pressure on their quarterback and really disrupt their offense.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yep. Should be interesting. And as far as this game, the 49ers end up getting another field goal after that. And then the next play, Justin Fields it's kind of just a prayer. He tossed one up. And honestly, it was probably a catchable ball too that Darnell Mooney didn't catch. And it's picked off by Josh Norman. And that was the game. So overall, I thought Jimmy Garoppolo played a sharp game. The defense had its ups and downs in the first half. Chicago moved the ball better than I had hoped, but of course they had a lot of injuries. But I'm still confident in the defense moving forward. And like I say, I think they might have found something nice with the defensive line. We'll see. And now they have a couple winnable games in the future here on their schedule.
Well, and before we move on to the schedule, I do want to
Yeah,
mention
sure.
this. You talk about the
Go
defense.
for
When you hold a guy like Justin Fields, as much as I hate the guy,
it.
he's super talented, and the issues on the defense are known. Trotting out a first
Yeah.
and help me out with this pronunciation. The defensive end we've just been discussing. I don't want to butcher it.
Oh, Samson Ibukam?
Ibukam.
Yeah.
We'll just call him Samson. When you're trotting out Samson for the first time in a legitimate role, having issues on the back end, and you've got a talented guy who's run all over the field and got a huge cannon, getting 22 hung on you when you hold them to 3, 10, 3, and 6 per quarters is not the worst thing in the world.
That's
you held
true.
them to a touch. You held them to 2 touchdowns. They got some field goals. You bent, but you didn't break. And that's what we're looking for here.
It definitely was a bend don't break defensive game plan.
And that's exactly what. And I don't even know if it was a defensive game plan. I think that's how it worked out. Was oh crap, here goes Fields with a great play. We need to stop them, and they rose to the occasion.
Yeah.
So I think it's definitely promising for the defense going forward. A dynamic quarterback giving them 10 yards a carry, 10 carries for 103 yards. Of course, some of those were bigger than others. Some of them mattered more than others. But he's going to get his. You picked them off on a prayer. You sacked them 4 times. You kept their starting running back, who they're pretty high on, and Herbert. You kept him to around. He's a really good running back. You kept him to 3. You kept him to 3 yards of carry, and you kept him out of the end zone. I feel like the defense did rise to the occasion in this one. Not that the Bears are a dynamic offense by any means, but they didn't have anything to lose. And that's the last thing the 49ers needed, was the dynamic rookie quarterback who was going to give them fits with a team that didn't have anything to lose, hanging 30 or 40 on them, and then walking out of the game being like, well, crap, now we're out of the playoffs. That was the game. Like you said, the offense did quit themselves well, but the defense really rose to the occasion, I think. Now I'm ready to move on. But that's
yeah, I'm glad you did. Looking at the schedule, of course, next week they're at home against Arizona, but no Kyler Murray, and it's going to be Colt McCoy getting the starts. I actually had to look that up. I forgot to look that up because I wasn't sure who their backup was.
Forgot about? Did you remember Colt McCoy, or did you just forget who their backup was?
I just forgot who their backup was.
Okay.
Yeah, so I had to Google
Colt McCoy's been around the league for a while, man.
He has, yeah, definitely. But that should be. I mean, I'm going to be picking the 49ers to win.
Yeah,
that's a winnable game.
The spread right now is Arizona by 2.5, and that's coming out. That's coming out with Monday Night Football on. So that line's going to move with Colt McCoy out of the game, with how the 49ers looked last week. That's a toss-up. That's a pick 'em. And in my mind, and we don't gamble, we don't bet, but when you look at these money lines, when the spread is under 3 either way, it's a toss-up. It's a pick 'em, because they usually give 3 to 4 points to the home team. So it might as well be a toss-up.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's true. And I think they might have found something against Chicago, especially offensively.
Yep.
Look for them to get back on track against Arizona. I think they'll be 4-4. After that, they do have the Rams at home, who just picked up Von Miller. Whew, man, they are scary.
Von Miller rotating over McGlinchey is going to give me nightmares. And then after I wake up from that vodka-induced coma fever dream, I'm going to look at Aaron Donald mauling Alex Mack and sending him into a retirement home, assisted living style. Yeah, it's not going to be. It's not going to be pretty, and it's a Monday night game. It looks like as well. Ooh. So we'll have the whole weekend to wait for that one in anticipation, and maybe bring Luke back on to discuss another loss.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, man. No, that's going to be a rough one. But after that, they got the Jaguars. They're at home against the Vikings, and they have Seattle, who well, I shouldn't say that's rude to say. Hopefully, they don't have Russell Wilson. But hopefully they don't have Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
And then Cincinnati is playing really good ball right now, but they just lost to the Jets. They have the Falcons, the Titans without Derrick Henry, and the Texans. there's some winnable games here. I mean, I think more than likely they'll be favored in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, at least 6 of these games, I would say.
You've got to win 7 out of the next 10 if you want to play for the wild card. I know the NFC sucks.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we've seen it too many times where teams rally. What you can't do is stumble into this thing 9-8 and praying for a tiebreaker. 10-7 this year with the way it's setting up is arguably going to lock down maybe even the number 1 overall wild card spot. Or well, not with the Rams, but you're at least getting number 2, and you're probably having a solid lock on it. So you got 10 games left. You got to win 7 out of them. There's no excuse to lose to the Texans. There's no excuse to lose to the Falcons. There's no excuse to lose to the Jags. And you've got to get the Cardinals this week. The rest of them are toss-ups. We'll see. You got favorable matchups with the Bengals. You got favorable matchups with the with the Vikings
even,
with the Seahawks. Yeah, you got favorable matchups with them. You've got 4 games that you should win. You've got 3 that are toss-ups, so you're going to have to go out and get something.
Yeah, definitely so. Definitely so. And
I
right
will
now,
say,
go ahead.
No, yeah, just one last thing on the schedule. Before you make your point, it does seem like this is kind of the pinnacle moment of the season, wherever this pendulum swings. Either 49ers get it back to 500 with Colt McCoy quick, but it does seem like it's getting late pretty early right now.
Yeah, no, it's true. And interestingly, looking at the NFC right now, of course, the Rams right now have that wild card spot. The Saints are quietly at 5-2 at the next one. So that's interesting. But of course, that last one, the Panthers are only 4-4. So we don't know what's going on with
Saints
them.
as well. And Jameis is out for the rest of the year now with his ACL injury. So that's gonna change a lot. And they've already come out and said they're not picking up Cam Newton. So you're gonna have a Taysom Hill offense for the rest of the year. So we'll see on that.
Yeah. So really, you're battling probably the Panthers and the Vikings, and I don't even know what's going on with the Panthers. Sam Darnold's hurt now, and I don't know what's going on there.
Well, you got the Falcons right behind you, the Vikings right in front of you. Those are 2 teams you play, and you've got an opportunity to get tiebreakers against both of them. And those are both games that you should win in the first place. So
very good point.
You can't lose this week, and that makes it even more critical that you win those 2 games against those teams, because you do not want to be in a battle with either one of them. We've seen Kirk Cousins lead them to the wild card too many times. We've seen Matt Ryan lead the Falcons to the cusp of a wild card berth when they've been underrated and overlooked too many times. Now, the Saints and the Panthers, they should fall off, but you've got to go out and get the Cardinals this week, and then you've got to take care of business against the teams you're in contention with.
Yeah. They have work to do, man. So as far as next week, obviously no Kyler Murray, no JJ Watt. This Cardinals team is gonna look very different than the Cardinals team that they played a couple weeks ago. What do you have any predictions, bold takes? Here, before I forgot, we didn't do game balls.
Sure.
They won. We got to do game balls.
Yeah, sure. It's just a game ball.
Yeah. Let's run to that real quick. Yeah, for real. Yeah, we don't do game balls on losing weeks, by the way, if you haven't picked that up yet.
Hey, I tell you what, let's go back and forth. I want to hear what you got first. Just give me offense, I'll give you offense. Give me defense, I'll give you defense.
Did you just do one on each side of the ball, or no?
Yeah.
You did?
I did 2 in general.
Okay, I have 2 on defense.
I didn't want to. That's fine. I didn't want to give Josh Norman a game ball. So
heck no.
I didn't do anything on defense.
But actually, there's 3 names that I want to give it to on offense, but
do it, man. Do it. Just I tell you what, give me your first one first, and then your first group of them first, then I'll give you my first group.
My first game ball goes to my guy Elijah Mitchell.
Yeah.
7.6 yards a carry, 137 yards. He's a Shanahan back, which makes me disapprove even more of the trade up for Trey Sermon. he's a perfect guy, man. And as crazy as it is, now it's like with Raheem Mostert, I mean, I think Mostert's still better, but it's not the worst thing in the world to be relying on Elijah Mitchell right now, man.
It's not. I was trying to get a clip pulled up.
Oh,
I don't know
okay.
why there's not one on YouTube already. But would you like to say who your first game ball was for? And I'll try to imitate it. Who
My
was your
man
first game
Elijah
ball for?
Mitchell.
Mama, there goes that man.
Awesome. I can't believe there's not a clip for that.
There's a compilation, but I was too scared to play it. I was looking for that little 10-second clip where you knew it was it for sure.
You probably
The
get an
first
ad
video
first
was the
anyways.
origin of Mama. Yeah, the origin was the first one was compilation. The second one was the origin of Mama, There Goes That Man by Mark Jackson. I'm like, we're good. But yeah, no,
That's
that is the
awesome.
guy. If Mark Jackson covered the NFL, he would have been saying that a lot on Sunday.
Absolutely. He was awesome, man. Yeah. Do you want me to go again, or were you gonna go?
No, I'll go. Yeah,
Okay,
so
go
I've
for it.
got one. The 40, yeah, the 49er offense. We're just gonna give it to them as a whole. They played terrific, and it's the first time I can
Yeah.
say as a unit. I know it's kind of a joke, but Jimmy Garoppolo, 85 QBR out of 100. That's pretty good for his career. 322 yards and a lot of stuff that wasn't gimmies. Elijah Mitchell, like you said, was it 7.6 yards a carry? That what came out to 7.6 yards. Debo, almost eclipsing the 1 3/4 century mark. You got Sanu at 59 yards. Ayuk at 45. Even Hasty got some couple touches. Got Warner involved. Jawan Jennings was on the field. They executed everything. It seemed like perfectly. They did start out with those field goals. Like you said, it was a bunch of them in a row. What was it? 3 of them in a row.
Yeah.
But the second half, Shanahan made some adjustments, and they came out and really stepped up. It's the first time we've been able to say that all year, like we talked about with the Lions first week when everybody's going nuts about the offense. I didn't think they looked great despite the huge point total they hung up on them. They were just taking advantage of a crappy team. But this was a game where it was a team on a similar, maybe a couple rungs below them, place on the ladder as far as standings went and even talent went. And they went out there and took care of business. And it was because of the offense that they did that. The defense was not put in situations like we've seen so many times this year where they were having to bail the offense out. The offense was complementing the defense. When they got stopped, the offense went out there and they took advantage of it. Like we just talked about how big it was to get the ball back from the Bears, drive down the field and end the game.
Yep.
We haven't seen that at all this season.
Totally
but they went
agree.
out there and did it. They went out there and did it. So
most of the year, it's been like, all right, this is the offense's opportunity to take control, and they've been falling short. But today, they took care. Or not today. Yesterday,
the only
for
other
us,
time
they took care of business.
Yeah, the only other time I compare that to was week 3 against the Packers when they drove down the field to get the lead, but they had screwed the defense so much that game, and you gave Aaron Rodgers too much time. But even then, the offense hadn't consistently been complementing the defense. They did it once, but this game you can truly say, even with getting field goals, they put points on the board. They didn't have a lot of drives that stalled out. In fact, before we move on quick, I know you got your game ball. I don't want to take up too much time, but the 49ers did not punt at all in the game.
That's true.
And
that's true.
That is a huge deal. And I wanted to make sure before I said that. 3 points, it doesn't win you games in college, but it wins you games in the NFL. They took advantage of the drives they had.
I want to mention, too, I heard that Mitch Wishnowsky, I can't say it, the punter of the 49ers, had his wife had a baby Saturday night, so he traveled Sunday morning to come to the game, but he didn't need to. They didn't punt. That was just an interesting little thing. Yeah.
I would like to get my second game all the week, and it's to Stephen Ellis for being able to pronounce Samson and not Wishnowsky. Mitch Wishnowsky.
I said Mish.
Dude, I tell you what, I was
it's a name, man.
But no, I can say Mitch and I can say Wisnowski, but I cannot say Mitch Wisnowski.
Yeah, that's what I.
Be-
Yeah,
It's
Mitch
the itch in the
Wishnowski.
ish.
I totally
Mitch
agree, man.
Wishnowski.
It just doesn't.
I want to add a second Shkowski to it.
Yeah, it's weird, man. It's a weird name. It's
It's a weird
interesting
name.
that
He's
you
got a
said
weird.
the. Oh, with
Go
your
ahead.
game ball. When I was trying to think of a
Yeah.
game ball, I kept thinking I could give it to the offensive line. They played well. I could give it to Mitchell. I could give it to
Yeah.
Garoppolo. I could give it
No.
to Debo or Ayuk. But yeah, it's true. The whole offense,
Offense.
man. Yeah. And as far
Yeah.
as defense goes, oh, go ahead.
Except for Alex Mack. Except for Alex
Yeah,
Mack and
yeah,
McGlinchey. We'll
yeah.
never compliment them on anything.
That's right. That's true. Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Glad we're
Yeah.
on the
Give
same
us your
page
other one.
there.
I'll shut up. Yeah. We're
The
always there.
defense, I had a hard time deciding between two guys. I don't want to be the obvious guy. We know Nick Bosa was a monster, but I'm going to go K1
Please.
Williams, who's had injury
Yeah.
issues, but he was all over the place, man. He was great yesterday.
Something concerning, in case you're wondering, for the folks at home keeping the score. Not a game ball, and I don't want to take away from K1 Williams. K1 had 7 tackles. So when I was looking at this, he had 4 solo with 7 tackles. Your top 2 leading tacklers, however, were Josh Norman with 7 solo tackles and Fred Warner with 8. Why is it a big deal that a defensive back has tackles? Because it means they gave up the freaking pass, and Josh Norman had 7 of them. So I just want to put that out there. K1 Williams in the slot, it's not as big of a deal. Run support, stuff across the middle. Josh Norman is currently cornerback number 1.5, depending on what they feel like doing with Emmanuel Mosley. And he had 7 tackles. So that's not what we're looking for here. But your K1 talk. Tell me about K1.
Oh, no, and I know it's different with a slot corner because a lot of times they do give up short passes, but if they can make the tackle before that short pass turns into something, then they're doing their job. But I thought he had a couple tackles for losses, I thought, or at least one.
Yep.
But I just thought he was reading the offense very well and moving well. And 2. Okay, I thought it was 2, but I wasn't sure. I remember the 1 for sure. But yeah, K1. My guy. I'm a big K1
Oh,
guy.
awesome, man. Awesome, man. My second game ball, not defense, but we don't talk about special teams enough. And I'm not going to go Sly. I'm not going to go Mitch Wishnowski and his weird kid. The person I want to give it to is Trent Cannon, because this makes it 2 weeks in a row now where he hasn't muffed a punt.
Wow.
Or kick. So shout out Trent Cannon. Fire the Trent Cannon. Don't fire him from his job yet, but man the barrels, fire the cannon. He hasn't dropped a punt in 2 weeks. This is a great progress for the team.
Look at Cannon, man. So inspirational.
A modern day John Wick.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, man. So we've actually commented on already, but the Cardinals without Kyler, without J.J. Watt. Do you think the 49ers pull this one out and get to 500?
Are we doing score prediction too?
Yeah, why not?
All right. Yeah, they've got to.
Yeah.
The reason the Cardinals are 7-1 is because of Kyler Murray. DeAndre Hopkins was on teams with the same talent in Houston, and they played sub 500 ball with probably the same level of coaching, both offense and defense. So if you can't take advantage of Colt McCoy, you know what they're going to do. And, I mentioned earlier how you're probably sticking with this. I know they use the term in college, NASCAR front, where you're putting speed guys on the field. You're sliding your anchor, your thick defensive end inside. You're putting 2 speed guys on the ends. I was mentioned earlier they're probably going to use that line most of the season. This week, I don't know. It'd be nice to see him get after Colt McCoy, put some pressure on him, force him into some things, but it has to feel like they're going to lean on the run game, right? With Kyler out.
I think so.
The key to the game is going to be bottling up Chase Edmonds.
Yeah.
And marching down the field and sustaining drives the same way they did this past week against the Bears. The offense cannot continue to be bailed out. They have to do the bailing out this week. But yeah, I do think they win. I do think they win, and this would be the first one at home this year as well. So we'll go. Yep, 1 loss on the road, 3 at home. So that's how we get to 3 and 4. All wins are on the road now. It's about time we're due for one. We'll go 49ers 34, Cardinals 20.
Nice. Yeah. I would, if the 49ers can play consistent, sustained offense, they're going to win this game because I don't think Colt
Yep.
McCoy is going to put up, I don't think he's going to put up more than 20 points. I'm going to go 31-17. So 14-point win just like you, but just 3 points less on both.
You made a good point. I don't want to get away from this because it's something that needs to be made. Talking about sustaining drives.
Yeah.
The way to win, just forget everything I said. It's exactly what you said. Put the Cardinals in the position and play from behind with the quarterback who cannot catch up.
Yes. Yes.
Grind out the clock. Old school Jim Harbaugh style 49ers, make them earn it. Get up, 14-3 with 2 minutes left in the second quarter, and you're getting the ball back in the second half. That's what you got to have this week. Keep the ball out of the offense's hands and make them play from behind. And if you can do that when they're already trailing in the first half, it don't matter what they're going to do in the second half. They can't come back with Colt McCoy. Just don't shoot yourself in the foot. Sustain drives.
Yes, exactly.
Away with a win.
Yep, totally agree. So hopefully the 49ers are 4-4 after this week. And after that, there's some there's some winnable games. They got work to do, but this could be the start. They do have the Rams after that. So even if you fall 4-5, you have Jags, Vikings, Seahawks, Bengals, Falcons, Titans, Texans. Really a lot of winnable games there. So hopefully they are hitting a stride now, and they can be the 49ers team that we hope for coming into the year. But there's work to do. They got to earn it, man.
Well, and mention like I did earlier, you need to win 7 out of 10. Let's not even look that far ahead, guys. We've got 5 games on deck. At home, at home against Cardinals, at home against the Rams, on the road to Jacksonville, at home against the Vikings, on the road to Seattle. You need to win 4 out of 5 of those. Because the Jags,
Totally
the Vikings, the Seahawks are all winnable. The Cardinals are clearly winnable. The 49er money line is going to get moved to where probably going to be home favorites in that game instead of home dogs. Right now, like I said earlier, Arizona's favored by 2.5 right now, which is just a toss-up. That's definitely going to move in the 49ers' favor. So if you can win 4 out of these 5, man, you're looking at that back end of the schedule on the road against the Bengals, home against the Falcons, on the road against the Titans, at home against the Texans, back on the road against the Rams. You're not having to press so much. Just win 4 out of these next 5, and then we'll go from there as we enter in December and the tail end of the season.
Yes. All right, man. Well, yeah. We'll see. Hopefully they can really hit their stride and start a little win streak here and get back on track and get in one of those wild card spots. And hopefully it's not a wasted season, man. But I'm excited to see them. Hopefully they really get after Colt McCoy next week and get a win. And hey, maybe since it's Luke's Cardinals, we can have him on even though it's a win. So I don't know. Luke Cardinals win. We'll see.
Yeah, they don't really go hand in hand, do they? And neither does Colt McCoy with having a cannon for an arm. So we should be all right.
That's true. Well, before we wrap this thing up, man, and go, you got your factor of the week for us, Josh?
Yeah, sure. And I really hope it's okay this week, Steve. Last couple weeks we've had guests. It's been fun. But today's fun fact is more of today's LaFon fun fact of the day. LaFon fact of the day is more of a riddle, and it requires a person to play along. So, would you be interested in playing along in a fun fact of the riddle?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sure. Okay, great. All right. So this is how the riddle starts. When asked how old she was, Susie replied, "In 2 years, I will be twice as old as I was 5 years ago." So again, when asked how old she was, Susie replied, "In 2 years, I will be twice as old as I was 5 years ago." Here's a question. How old is she? How old is she now?
Holy monkeys.
No one cares. And that's the 49-yard dash.
No one cares about Susie.
No one cares about Susie. No one cares about Colt McCoy. And the 49ers are getting a W. Let's go.
Let's go. Let's get a W, Niners. All right. I'll do it. No one cares about Susie. We are the 49-Yard Dash podcast. We will cover everything 49ers related going on. I'm Steven. That's Josh. It's the 49-Yard Dash. Peace out, guys.